Okay, when you think of formal wear, what comes to mind for you? Is it like the elegance of a gown, maybe? Or a sharp business suit? Maybe something amazing for a big celebration. Whatever it is, you probably don't immediately think global economic powerhouse. Oh, well, that's exactly what it is, and the numbers are pretty eye-opening. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, articles, research, our notes, and really pull out those key nuggets of knowledge, insights, basically giving you a shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're looking closely at something that might genuinely surprise you, the global women's formal wear market. Our main source for this is excerpts from Global Women Formal Wear Market Analysis 2021-2033. And our mission, well, it's to uncover the frankly surprising growth, find out who the key regional players are, and figure out what these trends tell us about, global economics and how our lifestyles are changing. Okay, let's just jump right in and unpack this. Big picture stuff first. The whole market was valued at an amazing $150.4 billion back in 2021. And it's not just growing, it's like really surging. Projections show it hitting over $182 billion by 2025. And then expanding even further to, get this, almost $267 billion by 2033. That works out to a steady compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of nearly 4.9%. I mean, that's a huge jump for what might seem like just dresses and suits, right?
It absolutely is a really significant jump. And like the source says, this isn't just fashion. It's a vibrant economic sector. It's this blend of elegance and, well, serious economic momentum. What's really fascinating is how consistent that growth is. It signals something deeper, some societal demand. And, when we zoom in on the regions, you start seeing the different engines driving it, different cultural factors too.
Absolutely. Let's kick things off with North America. It's a major pillar for this growth. So the region generated close to $49 billion, $48.7 billion to be precise, in 2021, expected to climb over $58 billion by 2025, and then, quite impressively, hitting almost $83 billion by 2033. That's growing at a pretty healthy CAGR of about 4.5%. So what do these North American numbers tell us? What's the story there?
Well, what's most striking is just how big the U.S. market is. It really sets the tone for the whole region. The United States, it accounted for nearly $40 billion of that $49 billion in 2021. And it's projected to reach almost $66 billion by 2033. That points to, a deeply ingrained culture of formal events, corporate stuff, weddings, galas, just consistent demand. Canada's also significant, though. Started around $7.5 billion in 2021, expected to hit over $13 billion by 2033. And Mexico, while smaller, shows really solid growth, too, from about $2 billion up to nearly $3.6 billion over the same period. So yeah, the U.S. dominates, but the demand is definitely spread across the continent.
Okay, interesting. So from North America, let's hop across the Atlantic to Europe, another continent with steady expansion. Europe generated over $42 billion in 2021, and it's expected to climb past $51 billion by 2025, reaching almost $77 billion by 2033. Now, interestingly, its CAGR is actually a bit higher than North America's. It's coming in at almost 5.14%. So connecting this to the bigger picture, does Europe's growth across so many countries suggest a really widespread, robust demand?
It certainly does. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Europe's story is one of broad-based demand. Look at the UK, over $8.6 billion in 2021, projected over $15 billion by 2033. Germany, always an economic heavyweight, nearly $7.8 billion in 21, expected to reach almost $14.8 billion. France and Italy, also very strong, both moving from around $5-6 billion to over $9-11 billion by 2033. And it's not just them. You see significant expansion in places like Russia and Spain, too. What's important here, I think, is that it's not only the big economies. Even smaller markets, places like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they're all performing solidly. It's just formal wear is just a consistent part of European life, social and professional, across the different contexts.
Right, okay. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, as you mentioned, the engines of growth. When we talk growth, Asia Pacific is, well, it's the fastest growing engine for women's formal wear, hands down. This region generated over $38 billion in 2021, expected to grow to over $48 billion by 2025, and reaching a huge $77.9 billion by 2033, almost matching Europe by then. And look at the CAGR, the highest of all regions, over 6.1%. Wow, this region is absolutely surging. What on earth is driving that kind of acceleration?
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal growth. And that growth, especially you look at China and India, it points to really significant shifts. We're talking shifts in consumer power, lifestyle trends across Asia. It's huge. China is just dominating. Over $11.5 billion in 2021, projected to hit nearly $24.7 billion by 2033, almost $250 billion on its own. What's fueling that? A rapidly expanding middle class, more urbanization, changing social norms, formal events, weddings, Corporate gatherings, big celebrations are becoming more common, more elaborate, reflects new wealth, new spending patterns. Japan is also a major contributor. Nearly $7.8 billion growing to over $15.6 billion. In India, really strong upward movement from almost $5.9 billion projected to over $13.3 billion by 2033. Similar drivers, economic growth plus cultural factors. South Korea, Australia also seeing robust expansion. Their markets are set to roughly double. And even, dynamic smaller markets like Singapore, Southeast Asia as a whole, Taiwan, they're all adding significantly to this region's incredible growth. It really shows that shift in spending power towards the East, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. So putting it all together, we're seeing growth everywhere, but the pace, it really varies quite a bit. Let's quickly touch on the other regions. South America, valued near $7.7 billion in 2021, expected to reach $9.45 billion by 2033. But notice the CAGR here is slower, around 1.75%. Within South America, Brazil leads the way, moving from over $3.3 billion to just over $4.1 billion. Argentina and Colombia also growing, but more moderately.
And the Middle East shows a pretty similar pattern, more moderate growth. Revenue was nearly $4.7 billion in 2021, growing at just over $5.8 billion by 2033. The CAGR there is about 1.88%, so again, slower. Key players are Saudi Arabia, Turkey, the UAE, all growing, but not that explosive growth we saw in Asia Pacific.
Right. And finally, Africa. This market hit nearly $8.9 billion in 2021. It's rising to almost $13.8 billion by 2033. The CAGR is a bit higher here, around 3.2%. Nigeria is a big player, projected to exceed $4.1 billion. And South Africa is expanding significantly, too, from over $4.4 billion towards $7 billion. So, okay, growth everywhere, but different speeds. It really raises that question, doesn't it? Why do regions like South America and the Middle East show this more sort of moderate growth compared to the really explosive numbers in Asia Pacific?
That's the key question, isn't it? And the source gives us the numbers, the what, but the why behind these regional differences.
Well, it's often tied to broader things like the stage of economic development, how mature these specific markets are, and maybe different cultural emphasis on formal wear for everyday life versus just big occasional events, for instance, in, say, more mature economies. Maybe the growth is naturally more incremental now, steady but not explosive. In other regions, economic expansion might be positive, but perhaps not as rapid or as widely spread through the population as we're seeing in parts of Asia Pacific. Asia Pacific is just seeing these massive leaps in disposable income and shifts in social dynamics that really favor formal occasions right now. So it's about the rate of change, really, both in wealth and in lifestyle.
That makes sense. Okay, let's pull it back to the big picture then. We've tracked this market's incredible journey from roughly $150 billion in 2021, heading towards almost $267 billion by 2033. It really is, as the source puts it, a remarkable blend of elegance with economics. That's exactly right, yeah. That consistent, strong growth in women's formal wear, it truly reflects these evolving lifestyle trends. It reflects rising global economic momentum, absolutely, and also probably some persisting human needs, for celebration, for professional presentation. Understanding these market dynamics gives you, the listener, a really crucial shortcut, a shortcut to being well-informed about much broader global shifts in consumer behavior and prosperity. It goes way beyond just the clothes.
So thinking about that, given these really robust growth figures for women's formal wear, what enduring human desires or societal needs do you think this segment consistently fulfills, especially in a world that often feels like it's leaning more towards casual dress? What might this ongoing strong demand signal about the future of how we mark professional, social, or celebratory occasions? Something to think about. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission for you is simple. Cut through the noise and give you a really rapid, insightful look into a space that's, constantly changing, the global women's formal wear market.
That's right.
We're pulling our insights from top sources, think Market View, powered by cognitive market research. And by the end of this quick deep dive, they'll basically have a shortcut to understanding what's really driving things, what the challenges are, and, what's shaping the future of how women dress for success professionally.
It really is a fascinating area. It's where style truly aligns with ambition these days. The market's just reflecting these evolving needs.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Let's start with the core drivers. What's really pushing this market forward?
Well, the biggest force, clearly, is the rise of women in corporate and professional sectors. We're seeing more women taking on leadership executive roles.
Right, especially in big urban centers around the world, wouldn't you say? It's not just more women, it feels like it's about seniority, too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Global influence. I mean, the data shows female exec leadership, say in finance, it's jumped, what, over 20% in just the last 5 years.
Wow.
And that directly translates to a bigger need for sophisticated, career-appropriate formal wear, clothes that really project authority.
And it's definitely not just about the boardroom anymore, is it? You've got the whole visual influence of social media, fashion influencers,
Absolutely.
platforms like Instagram, Pinterest, yeah, even LinkedIn, like you said. It's
Yeah.
this constant stream of inspiration, almost pushing women to, upgrade their wardrobes, bolder styles, more confident looks.
And what's fascinating there is how that visual culture connects right into this rising demand for power dressing, personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
As women step into those more visible leadership roles, they're consciously using fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Tailored suits, statement blazers, structured dresses. They're not just clothes, they're a statement. Professionalism, authority.
That's a great point about empowerment through style.
Mm-hmm.
And tied to that, we're also seeing huge shifts in how women are actually buying these clothes.
Right. You just can't ignore the convenience, the sheer variety that comes from e-commerce and what people are calling omni-channel retailing now.
That seamless experience.
Exactly. Online, in-store, it all works together. Think virtual try-ons right from your sofa, personalized size guides, easy returns, all designed for busy professionals.
Makes a huge difference in accessibility.
Okay, so those are the sort of the tailwinds pushing things forward. But every market has its challenges, its headwinds, right? Where are the real pressures here?
Yeah, indeed. One pretty big hurdle is just the cost. Premium formal wear, custom tailoring it can be expensive.
Yeah.
That's a barrier, especially for younger professionals or, anyone on a tighter budget.
Definitely. And speaking of online shopping, that brings up another major pain point, sizing. It's all over the place between brands.
Tell me about it.
Especially when you're buying something structured, like a blazer online, it's so hit or miss.
Yeah.
Leads to a lot of returns, frustration.
For sure. We're also seeing, a shift in preferences in certain industries. Think tech firms, creative startups.
Mm-hmm.
The dress codes are often way more relaxed.
Right. So the need for that really traditional, super formal stuff, it's just less in those areas.
Exactly. And this raises a really important question, too. What about the growing concern around environmental issues? Ethical sourcing, fast fashion's impact.
That's huge now.
Consumers want more accountability. They're asking questions about where their clothes come from, how they're made, especially from the big mass market brands.
Right, demanding more transparency. But okay, despite those challenges, there are some really exciting trends emerging, shaping the future.
Absolutely.
A big one seems to be the rise in sustainable and ethical formal wear. People are actively looking for brands using, say, organic fabrics, paying fair wages, focusing on recycling.
It's about values aligning with purchasing, looking good, feeling good about the purchase.
Exactly.
And then there's this whole power casual movement. Seeing that gain serious traction.
Ah, yes, the fusion.
Yeah, it's this great mix. Women pairing tailored blazers with like an iced tea or wearing smart sneakers with trousers. It balances comfort with looking sharp and professional.
Yeah.
All-day wearability.
And crucially important, I think, is the growing focus on size-inclusive and adaptive clothing.
Oh, definitely. Long overdue.
Brands are finally expanding, more plus sizes, petite options, even thinking about functional designs for women with disabilities, making sure formal wear is genuinely for everyone.
And underpinning a lot of this is just a focus on comfort in modern formal wear. It's paramount.
Makes sense.
We're seeing more breathable fabrics, stretch materials, more relaxed cuts. Think elastic waistbands hidden in smart trousers, soft knit blazers, things that let you stay polished but actually feel comfortable all day.
So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you listening?
Well, it tells us women's formal wear isn't just about dressing up anymore. It's much more about expressing identity, enabling comfort, and really driving inclusivity in professional spaces. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. We connect this to the bigger picture. How might these shifts in formal wear actually reshape our whole understanding of what professionalism even looks like and how personal expression fits into the workplace moving forward? Something to mull over.